When we see the pink ribbon, of course, we think of Susan G. Komen Foundation and all the difference they're making in the lives of women and men suffering from breast cancer. Well, today we're talking about a special type of breast cancer, metastatic. Joining us, not only are the world-renowned psychologist, Dr. Ann, but as well as a patient suffering right now. Fern, share your story with us.
I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and I decided not to do anything. 4 months later, I did a double mastectomy, and a year later, the cancer came back. So instead of being in the early stages, I now had metastatic breast cancer, which is stage 4, and the cancer had spread to my lungs and my bones. So hindsight is 50-50, but I should have treated the cancer way earlier.
Fern, that sounds really tough. How did you make that tough decision?
I was very apprehensive of doing chemo. I'd read a lot of bad things in some people's books about chemotherapy, and so I tried to do different approaches, and that didn't work. And thank goodness for modern medicine, because if it wasn't for modern medicine, I would not be here.
Fern, it sounds like a very aggressive type of cancer. What type is it?
Yes, it's HER2, which is a very aggressive cancer, and fortunately, there is a drug called Herceptin, which is a monoclonal antibody, which very cleverly targets the receptor that's overexpressing that causes the cancer.
Fern, when you were first diagnosed with breast cancer, did they alert you with how aggressive it was?
No, you only know once you've done the biopsy. They actually have to get a tissue sample so they know what type of cancer it is.
You know, Dr. Ann, we hear this story and it touches our heart, and there are more and more stories like it. What is happening here?
Well, I think one of the most important things to recognize is that, there are many women who live with metastatic breast cancer that even if you are diagnosed early and you follow all the right procedures from the very beginning that are recommended, you can still develop metastatic breast cancer. And that if you do, you're not alone. We want people to know that. We want people to know that there are models for them in terms of how to live with this disease, which is one of the reasons this video was developed that can be found at facesofmbc.org that profiles some women. But it really is a tremendous emotional journey to go through to learn that your life may be shortened by this, and that that you may be living with this as a chronic illness in your life for some period of time.
Doctor, you mentioned metastatic. What does that mean?
It means that the disease has spread from the original site, and so that cancer is no longer just in the breast, which they often do surgery to remove, but is actually microscopic cells spread throughout the blood system and lymph system to other parts of the body, latches on and begins growing other tumors in those areas, and it requires a more systemic approach to treatment.
Fern, you're such an inspiration, such a fighter, and you give hope to so many. What advice would you give to others that are facing this or may be diagnosed with this condition?
Every woman's journey is different. Find the best medical treatment that you can and allow people to help you. Don't be afraid to accept help. People want to help, and it's wonderful that they do.
Fern, that is touching, and I also know that the video that Dr. Ann referred to, The Faces of MBC, also has played an inspiration for you.
It's just really reassuring to see other women that are in the same situation and that are doing well and living with their disease.
Fern, in closing, and thank you for being with us today, what advice would you give to others that are facing challenges right now?
To continue living out your dream. Life is short. It doesn't matter if you get a cancer diagnosis or not. We never know what's going to happen tomorrow. Just live your life. Life is beautiful.
Two amazing ladies, and we will certainly keep Fern in our prayers. What a fighter, what an inspiration. Just to remind you, log on to that website, facesofmbc.org. You can check out other Health Beat segments we've done recently at our Get Connected website at conntv.com. We're going to wrap up our show when we come back, and we've got some way, somehow, you may win our trip to the Caribbean when we come back.